So, what if you could actually master the problems of everyday life, with just a few simple techniques? Well, that was the big promise of a book from way back in 1952 that became this global phenomenon. It's Norman Vincent Peale's The Power of Positive Thinking. And listen, this isn't just about, slapping a smile on your face. It's a full-on manual for completely rewiring your brain for success and happiness.
I mean, just look at the subtitle. It makes this incredibly bold claim, right? This is a practical guide to mastering everyday problems, the stuff we all deal with. Peale's whole belief system boils down to this. Feeling defeated? Well, that's a choice, not just a state you're stuck in. He puts forward this radical idea that a joyful, satisfying life isn't about luck. No, it's about applying a specific, learnable way of thinking.
And come on, who hasn't felt this way, right? That daily grind just wearing you down, that feeling of constantly hitting a brick wall or just getting that awful string of bad breaks. It is so easy to feel totally overwhelmed. But here's Peale's radical argument. That feeling of defeat, it's not just draining, it's completely optional. Okay, so this brings us right to Peale's central diagnosis. He says the problem isn't your life, it's your defeated mind. He looked around and saw most people struggling, resenting their circumstances, and he basically said, you're all focusing on the wrong thing. The real battle, it's not with the world out there. It's with the attitude you've got going on in here. And to back this up, Peale championed this really powerful idea from a psychiatrist, Dr. Carl Menninger, that just cuts right to the heart of it. Attitudes are more important than facts. Just let that sink in for a second. A difficult fact, losing a job, a tough health diagnosis, that's just a fact. But it's your attitude toward it that decides everything. It can either crush you before you even start, or it can be the very thing that helps you push through. Your mindset, that is the ultimate game changer. So, okay, if attitude is everything, where the heck do we even begin? Well, Peale says you've got to start by conquering the enemy within, that little voice that cripples your potential, self-doubt. He seriously believed it was one of the most common and one of the most destructive problems plaguing the human mind.
He even gave it a name, the inferiority complex. And this isn't just about having a bad day, It's that deep, corrosive feeling of not being good enough that literally acts like a ball and chain on your dreams. Peale was just floored by how many people, deep down, secretly believed they just didn't have what it takes to get what they really wanted out of life.
And listen to this quote from a 40-year-old businessman. It just captures the agony of self-doubt perfectly. He was right on the verge of this huge, life-changing deal, and he confessed to Peale, "I'm just about sunk." And that, right there, is the real cost of a defeated mind. It paralyzes you at the 1-yard line right before you have a chance to score that winning touchdown. So what's the fix? Well, Peale's answer is kinda revolutionary. He says you don't fight negative thoughts, you just crowd them out. He prescribed this deliberate re-education of your own mind. It's a process of filling your head so completely with faith and self-belief that there is literally no mental real estate left for doubt to move in. Okay, check out this example. There was a traveling salesman who told Peale he felt like he was drinking fear and defeat thoughts all day long. So he created this really simple system. He clipped little cards with powerful, positive phrases to his car's dashboard. And as he drove between appointments, he just deliberately conditioned his mind, replacing all that insecurity with strength. He literally changed the traffic in his own head. And hey, here's a tool you can use right now. Peale suggests repeating this phrase 10 times every single day. If God be for us, who can be against us? Now, whether you're religious or not, the principle is exactly the same. It's about consciously inserting a powerful, confident thought into your mind to build this sort of mental shield against fear. All right, so once you start building up that belief, the next big step is to find inner peace. And you might be asking, why? Because Peale argues that real power, it doesn't come from frantic, chaotic energy. It comes from a calm, centered mind. Think about it. You can't project strength if your thoughts are basically in a state of civil war. Peale brings up this really powerful choice that we all make every single night. Do you go to bed with what he calls an earful of trouble, soaking up all the worrying news, stress, and anxiety? Or do you try to cultivate a mind full of peace with quiet, positive input? He was convinced that what you feed your mind in that last hour before you sleep profoundly shapes your subconscious. To do this, Peale laid out a simple 2-step process. It's basically mental housekeeping. So, step 1, consciously empty your mind. At least twice a day. Just picture yourself dropping all your fears, your hates, your insecurities, just tossing them overboard. But here's the key. You can't leave a vacuum. So, step 2 is to immediately refill that space with peaceful, healthy thoughts. You're basically putting up a no vacancy sign for all the old worries.
And this leads to a super simple but really profound technique Peele called suggestive articulation. The whole idea is that words themselves carry a kind of energy. You can even try it right now. Just slowly say the word tranquility. See? You can almost feel how the sound itself seems to slow your system down. Just the simple act of speaking a peaceful word can help bring about a peaceful state.
Okay, now we get to the book's most famous technique. This is the big one. A practical 3-step formula for turning your goals into actual reality. Peele really presented this as a kind of scientific method for using spiritual principles to get real, tangible results in your life. And here it is. Prayerize, picturize, actualize. So first up, prayerize. This just means turning prayer into a constant, natural conversation about your goals, like you're talking to a partner. Second, picturize. You've got to create a sharp, super detailed mental movie of what you want to happen. Don't just think about it, see it. And finally, actualize. You hold that mental picture with unshakable faith. Peele was certain that when you do this, the universe basically conspires to make that picture your reality. And this wasn't just theory. This formula had real-world results. Peele tells this incredible story about a woman whose husband was leaving her. For 90 straight days, instead of fighting with him, she just used the picturized technique. She would vividly imagine him happy, back in their home, sitting there reading in his favorite chair. She just held on to that image with absolute faith, and slowly, her mental picture started to become real. By the 90th day, all talk of divorce was just gone.
You know, in the end, all of these techniques, building belief, finding peace, visualizing your success, they all boil down to one simple but incredibly profound choice. Peele was really inspired by an old man he saw on TV once who said, "When I get up in the morning, I have 2 choices, either to be happy or to be unhappy. I just choose to be happy." And that right there is the ultimate summary of Peele's entire philosophy. Happiness isn't something that happens to you. It's a decision you make. And really, that brings the question right back to us, doesn't it? The power of positive thinking, it's not some magic wand. It's a practical tool. It's a conscious decision, a daily practice of choosing your attitude and directing your thoughts. So the only real question left is, what will you choose to focus on today?